Hey, this is the Android Police Podcast. I am Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Corbin Davenport.
And I'm Jules Wall.
And we're going to talk about Android and Google and other technological type things this week, like we do every week. Except this time, Corbin might be old-timey black and white because he's having bandwidth issues that we can't figure out. So, if you're into that sort of thing, you should definitely check out the video version on Twitch. Yeah. Okay. But while we enjoy Corbin's black and white feed, we're going to talk about Google. And apparently now in Europe, you get the option to choose browsers and search engines when you start using an Android phone, just like Windows back in the early 2000s when you had the browser ballot. Now Google has a browser and search ballot.
It's this thing called competition in the European Union because they fined Google $5 billion for not allowing this crap, and therefore they have to start letting manufacturers install whatever app store they would like, and they would have to charge in order to get the Google apps. And this is just one of the little effects of what's going on here.
So I only recognize one of the non-Google search engines on this page. That's DuckDuckGo. I think everybody knows that. I don't know these other three that are options. I've never heard of them.
Yeah, I've heard of Ecosia, I think. But that's about it. I've never heard of Quant or Sesnom, but that's definitely a Chinese address. So yeah,
well,
it's
a .cz. Where's that? Isn't that like
could be Czech?
Czech Republic?
Oh, you're right. Sorry, you're right. That is Czech.
Yeah. But whatever. I mean, you can download some search engines that you're probably not going to want to use. And then the browser stuff I think is a lot more straightforward. Chrome is installed. You can get Firefox and Edge and Opera or Puffin.
Well, this is one of the easiest things that Google can do in terms of complying with the ruling. So what happens with the whole, how do we charge, they have determined how we charge, how we're going to charge these OEMs for the Google apps, but we'll have to see how that makes its way down the line.
Yeah, I don't think that any of this changes Google's market share at all. I mean, people could pretty easily install all of this stuff from the Play Store before, and I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Google search is just better. Everybody uses it because it is better than the competition.
And it hasn't really helped that this court case took years and years in time. You've let Google develop this market position.
I mean, by the time the Microsoft decision came down, Internet Explorer was already losing a significant ground to Firefox at the time. That was before Chrome was around. But I mean, this, even though it took a long time, wormed its way through the courts faster, I think. So, Google search and Chrome are still, the most popular. I think that it's like manufacturers being allowed to bundle alternative app stores. Manufacturers could already do that, though, I think, right? Because Samsung includes its own app store. So I think the difference, it's that they can choose not to bundle some of the Google apps.
Yeah,
that was the distinction. Okay, so I mean, I think that could make some sort of dent in Google's market share. But I mean, what are you going to not bundle Gmail on a phone? I don't think that's likely.
Well, in practicality, this is never going to move the needle in a big way on any mainstream devices. For smaller markets in possibly countries where it doesn't matter as much, like that could have some bigger effects. But for the most part, no major manufacturer is going to drop Google from their lineup. And they're not going to be pushing out, they'll include their own browser. I think Samsung makes theirs the default, but they still have to include Chrome, I believe. And most people already know what they want to use, or they're just going to use what's already default. I don't think a lot of people are going to buy a new device, get to the Play Store and then go, oh, you know what? The default, I don't like the default. Let's just switch to something else, especially since this is probably what they're going to see before they even open a browser for the first time. So what incentive do you have to change? I don't really see that changing anyone's experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think this might change the market share, maybe 1%.
I mean, they do. I mean, they do prompt you, like when you open Chrome, they show you a little pop-up banner at the bottom that reminds you can change your search engine if you want.
Yeah.
I think most people won't bother because, I mean, there's a reason that Google has a giant market share now, and it's not all because Google is an evil multinational corporation that forces us to use their products. They make a really good search engine.
Yeah, and besides, really, the people who are going to be changing typically are going to be the people who already have their opinions set. So they either don't care or they like Google, in which case they'll just stick with it, or they actively dislike Google or really like something else, in which case they probably already know what they're going to change to. So it's such a short list of people who could realistically have their opinion changed that's at this point.
Yeah. But they complied with it, so Google's in the clear now. But they'll probably still get fined again. I'm sure the EU will find something else.
Are they actually in the clear? I thought that they kind of did this in hopes that this would appease the EU, but not that it was actually sealing the deal.
This was required because, yeah.
Okay.
It was the search engine and then the Google standard apps.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah. I mean, there's always going to be another case against Google as long as it's a giant company. That's, it's just, I mean, it's the cost of doing business in Europe.
Sorry, let me clarify though. My understanding was that we're required to give the option, but as far as I've seen, maybe I missed this, they never actually cleared with the EU that this was a suitable implementation. I mean, not that I think that the EU is going to get nitpicky, and well, actually they might, but I don't think that they've actually cleared it. So the EU could always come back and be like, no, we're not happy with this. We really want, like, on startup, you have to offer.
Well, I mean,
yeah, so maybe they'll bake something into Android Q where it's part of the setup process.
Google's blog post says that the changes are being made in response to feedback from the European Commission. So I don't know. I think that nobody's concerned that the EU is going to find Google all over again because this is, somehow not sufficient.
At this point, it's better to apologize, and if you're going to have to face that, Brussels knows the address.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's talk about Twitch, which is this thing that we're streaming on right now. We stream on Twitch every week at twitch.tv/AndroidPolice. And if you like the show for some reason, you can support it by subscribing to Android Police on Twitch. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. So all you have to do is go to our page. We have a link in the description under the video that tells you how to link your Amazon and Twitch accounts, and then a couple of clicks, and you can subscribe to the podcast. And we get money for that. It doesn't cost you anything extra. And when you subscribe, you get a custom Rhine emoji in the chat room, which is more fun than it sounds like. Trust me.
It's a lot of fun.
And you also get a Pixel 3 XL notch on the live feed with your name on it. It just pops down right on top of everything, which is fun, right? Everybody loves the Pixel 3 XL notch.
And it just appeared as you were talking about it.
Oh yes, because Lazy Bear 101 subscribed. That is cool. That is what we like to see. That's how we get to keep doing the podcast. Also, when you subscribe to us on Twitch, you get special entries in the giveaways on the site. So you should do that if you like free stuff. And who doesn't like free stuff? So so go to twitch.tv/AndroidPolice and subscribe. If you subscribed in the past, you have to renew that every month. So please do that if you have not done it lately. and that way we'll be able to keep doing this thing every week.
Yes, and if you renew, make sure to click the share button if you want to see the notch with your name on it.
Okay. Yes. Good clarification.
Oh, we got 2 subs at the
gracious.
same time.
Wow, look at that. Poison Rock and Noshed 82.
Thank
Wow.
you. Wow,
Good
Noshed
for
is up
them.
to 6 months. Goodness gracious.
Okay, I feel like we're kind of on the spot now. We have to live up to all this confidence that people placed in us. And I don't know if I can handle that. I'm feeling
Pixel 3a, Pixel 3a.
Okay.
Yes.
The Pixel 3a is probably coming on May 7th, which is, I think, super weird because Google does not traditionally announce hardware at I/O anymore. But that's the first day of I/O, so apparently that's when it's happening. According to this weirdo teaser on the Google Store, it's a really confusing Avengers tie-in, but like there's nothing, as far as we're aware, Avengers related about the Pixel 3a. And May 7th is not the day the movie comes out. The movie's out at the end of April. So very weird teaser, Google. Very weird. But on May 7th, you will meet a new hero in the Pixel family, apparently.
Now, you never know. They could do something weird like have an exclusive hero that's only available for like AR course stickers
I think that would be
Purple Edition Pixel 3a.
Pretty pointless.
Pointless is kind of how most of these gimmicks go, though.
I mean, at least, like OnePlus has done fancy custom versions of their phones, and so has Samsung, and at least they look different, right? Like there was like the Iron Man Galaxy S, whatever there was, and that was kind of a fun phone. It was like red and gold.
Yeah, I regardless of movie tie-ins, I would like to see a purple Pixel, and not like vaguely purple like Google's new colors are, but like a deep purple. That'd be pretty sweet.
This iris Pixel, I guarantee, is going to be like periwinkle purple. It's going to be boring.
They take the little color picker and they start it on white and they drag it just a hair, and that's the Pixel color.
They pick a good color, and then they turn the saturation way down, like way down, 10%.
Corbin, are you saying you might want one that's colored, say, fuchsia?
Ooh, we're not supposed to talk about that. Google wants to keep it a secret.
I mean, you know what? I really like the Galaxy S10, especially the E, because they have such fun colors. They have that yellow S10e, and you can get the pink one in the other sizes. It's just like they're just fun colors. I don't like these very like wishy-washy colors that are suddenly popular on phones.
I don't know. I think it's Apple that started it with the 4C, but somewhere we got on this mindset where only cheap phones can be colorful, and it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, well, Huawei's been making some pretty loud phones.
Yeah, they've been doing those cool blend color bats for a while. Those are fun.
And Apple now does have the XR, which is comes in a bunch of colors, which I think
but that's their like
quote
cheaper
unquote
phone.
cheaper phone.
Cheaper for Apple.
$50. That's probably why Samsung has like the super bright colors now.
If you take a look at what they bet on distribution, and okay, so this is where the bulk of the customers are going to be coming in. We might as well invest in more colors. This group, sort of makes sense.
So the 3A and 3A XL are supposed to be budget-ish phones. So I don't know, maybe they'll be fun colors. Who knows? But I doubt Google will do that because Google is much less fun than it used to be.
Google's planning a new logo. It's going to be completely white, and you won't be able to see it on any of its backgrounds. It's just great.
It'll be white with a very light box shadow around it.
Also Google is about to announce that all future Android statues will just be the green Android. There will be no modification. They'll just build a new one for every version of Android.
Wait, green? It's gonna be white.
Oh yeah. They'll change it to white. Yeah.
It's just a pale white.
Yeah. They'll be reverting to
no more distracting Easter eggs in the software. Like that's just like what? Who wants that?
And they're going to be stay on P, by the way. It's just going to be peas, just mushy peas.
It's just peas all the way down.
Baby food.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't think of a good tie-in for the next.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Let's just stop talking about the Pixel 3a because that whole idea of the phone, it just makes me kind of sad. I don't
There's
know.
good news, at least in terms of cooperation, in terms of ending a Cold War of some sort. I think.
I don't know if it wasn't really so cold. I think Amazon and Google had some pretty fiery hate for each other.
Some open exchanges.
So now Apple and Google have come to terms, at least partially.
Apple.
I'm sorry, Amazon. Apple and Google did years ago. So Amazon and Google rather, they have come to terms, sort of. So in the coming weeks and or months, there will be a Chromecast option in the Prime Video app. That is happening. And in response to that, Google will allow Amazon to get a YouTube app on its Fire TV devices. So this stretches back several years to when Amazon released the Echo Show, and it had a custom YouTube app, and Google didn't like that because it was doing like the non-standard things and stripping out ads, so they blocked it, and then they ended up blocking the Fire TV. But I actually think technically the first salvo was probably when Amazon pulled the Chromecast and the Apple TV from its site. It stopped selling those. That was around the time that it started selling the Fire TV stick conspicuously. But and then it's just been back and forth, and there are a bunch of other Google products you can't buy on Amazon right now. But so this is sort of a partial cooling of tensions. There's still, as far as I'm aware, there's not going to be a YouTube app on the Echo Show. That didn't change.
There is. Wait, it said, the show. Okay,
yeah, the show.
sorry.
The show is not a Fire TV device.
Okay, I was thinking, I was confusing that in the Cube thing they made a while ago.
And you would have thought that would be like the least of the troubles going on here. Like it's just the Fire TV, a YouTube app.
Yeah.
This whole, you're talking about real dollars and cents in terms of distribution of, these Google products to Amazon.
Yeah, I mean, and Amazon isn't going to start selling all of the Google stuff that conflicts with its products. So like the home speakers are not there; those are not coming to Amazon. But it would be nice, if this was the beginning of more cooperation between the companies, because it doesn't hurt either of them. They're both, multi-billion-dollar companies. The only inconvenience is to users who would like to have, more ways to buy things and more ways to watch the things that they're paying for.
All right. Well, what do we have next?
Now, next,
going right through.
next we have a pretty embarrassing situation for Samsung.
Yikes!
So the Galaxy Fold, they gave out the first review units to a small number of reporters and publications, a lot of YouTubers, and like mainstream news outlets got them, and a lot of them seem to be breaking pretty quickly. We're aware of 4 that in the space of 2 days stopped working correctly. The displays are flipping out in one way or another. Some of them look like they have like oxidation damage to the OLED, like they're just turning black. Some of them just have weird, defective, like weird lines that pop up everywhere.
Yeah, they're all like slowly turning to black, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, and so like part of this on some of the devices seems to be related to the top layer of the display, which looks like a screen protector, but is not. And some people like peel that off thinking that's all it was. And apparently you're not supposed to do that. But some of these units that stopped working, they still had that layer intact. So while that might be a contributing factor, it's not the only factor. And just like the pictures of the devices, I think it's not super encouraging. There's I don't know if we have it in the post. There's a close up of like the hinge area, and you can see the layers of the display sort of like separating a little bit when you when you bend it, when you have it like half open. And it just looks like it's going to be really easy to damage. I think the Verge's unit had like developed some weird bulge in the middle.
Yeah, like they didn't try to pull off the protective film or anything, but it seems like maybe something got caught under it and it made a bubble.
Yeah.
And also I don't think we embedded the one tweet about it, but I watched MKBHD's video about this, and he pointed out that one of the units that wasn't broken, but the protective film on one corner had already kind of started to peel a little bit. So that's not good either. It seems like this phone does not last for very long whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, like they didn't give out a ton of these phones. Like most sites didn't get them. We didn't get one. They gave these to a small number of people. I'm sure these phones are like handmade. They don't have like a giant automation system set up to build phones that they know they're not going to sell very many of. And I'm sure that having only given out this small number, they checked them before they handed them out to make sure that these phones worked. And yet, like these should be the best, most reliable ones they make, and they're failing at a pretty high rate.
Yeah, which it raises so many questions about at this point, like how can they even recover on something like this? It's a pretty big blow on their reputation.
I mean, I think Samsung,
not for Samsung specifically, but for the phone, specific phone.
I think that Samsung probably figures that they're going to sell so few of these that they can deal with the blowback. Like it's not going to be a Note 7 incident where, you know, a very small percentage of those phones were defective, but they sold so many of them that there were a lot of incidents to report on, you know. Like they you know, like 1 in 20 Galaxy Folds could just like break down in the space of a month. But, you know, if they only sell a few hundred of them, that's not that many for us to report about.
Well, to be fair, it sounds like their failure rate is probably a hell of a lot higher than that.
It might be a lot higher. Yeah, so and Samsung was adamant before they handed any of these out that they were good for like 200,000 folds, and they had that video of the phones like opening and closing. But you know what I think it might be is that like they tested them in machines that fold them exactly the same way over and over and over again. They don't like apply any like weird pressure from different angles, or like they don't like snap them closed like with one hand, like pressing heavy like more on like one side or the other. I think maybe like people using these phones apply forces to them that Samsung didn't expect. So there might be more just wear and tear damage from the way people use them.
Yeah, there's definitely that angle to it. I'm wondering if maybe they didn't even have time to properly QA these. And even if they did, it's possible maybe they QA'd on it's funny to say this, pre-production devices, whereas these kind of are probably perpetually pre-production devices. But they may not have really had time for that. Our going theory has been that these are to some extent handmade at the factories, because again, there is no realistic way that they've formalized any automation or very much automation.
There's one person painstakingly sketching the lines on the circuit board for these phones.
Yeah, really.
They're actually just like they're soldering the components by hand. They don't even have any pre-printed words.
Exactly.
So yeah, at this point, you got to figure that there's so many opportunities for failure or just degrading of reliability. And once you've got an assembly line of people putting these things together, doing whatever steps that they're doing, there may have been some failure introduced in that system.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they have to, you know, they end up like pushing back the release. But I guess I am increasingly aware that maybe Samsung's just going to go with it. Maybe they'll just see how it works out. I think it would be smart to not release this phone right now, but maybe they figure the blowback won't be bad enough to hurt them in the long term.
At the most basic level, I'm going to take the stance that I think they'd be insane to do this on one simple basis. Imagine if even the failure rate that they're looking at right now continues. All the people who are paying, this is what, $1,500?
Almost $2,000.
Yeah. Every single one of those people at some point or another after, let's say, 2-3 months is probably going to have at least one failure. Those are all devices that are going to be sending into Samsung saying, no, send me a new one, like today. And Samsung's going to be on the hook to do this, because if they screw up even one of these, that's going to be like Reddit gold for just pure hatred. So many people will be furious at Samsung over that. So, it's a bad look if they screw that up.
All right, so I think we've hit all the Galaxy Fold angles that we can. We're gonna do something a little different now. We're gonna do some shilling that is not directly related to Twitch, but Corbin is gonna talk about a thing that he likes that he thinks you should buy, because
if we can stay on for long enough.
I just refreshed the page, so hopefully I won't have any issues while I'm talking. Okay, that's why I did that.
Smart.
Okay. Yeah. So no more negativity in this podcast.
Oh, that's not going to work out.
Okay. Negativity towards me. Let's try that. Okay. All right.
Corbin, we love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jules.
You're all right.
Get out of the call.
I'm withholding judgment.
So yeah, this is something I like. This is show and tell now. This is the 8-bit DOE. What is it? SF30 Pro. It's a cute little Bluetooth controller that looks like a SNES controller, and it has modes for use with Nintendo Switch, Android, Mac, Windows, all of those platforms. So it basically works with everything. I got it for my Switch because I wanted to play Tetris 99 with an actual D-pad and not like the tiny mushy buttons on the Joy-Cons. And it works great for that. And I actually use it for almost all my games because it's just a nice controller with nice clicky buttons. And it charges with Type-C. Let's go. No micro USB over here. So if I like this, it's pretty nice. If you want to buy one, we'll put the link in the episode description if you're listening to the audio version. And if you buy it through there, it helps us run the show.
How many money dollars is it?
Let me look. I think it's 30 money dollars. It is 40 money dollars, but it's pretty good for like it's nice. I like it. I think I might have actually used it when I was streaming on the Twitch channel a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. So yeah, buy this thing because Corbin likes it. He says it's good, and we trust Corbin mostly.
Yeah. Unless I'm talking about Wear OS, right, Ryan?
Yeah, because you're wrong about that, like totally and completely. You're upsettingly wrong about that. It causes me a great deal of concern to hear you talk about Wear OS. Would you like to talk about Wear OS right now and how wrong you are about it?
I'm wearing my Fossil Sport right now, so I'm I'm happy with it. I am using my Galaxy Watch Active a lot though. It's pretty nice, especially now that I flashed it to be a American watch. I can use Samsung Pay now. But I didn't think it was possible, but Samsung Pay on that watch is actually worse than Google Pay on this watch. Because Samsung Pay doesn't ask you for the little key until you actually go to use it. Whereas this watch asks you for it as soon as you put it on. So what happens is that if I'm taking, I enter the code on this pretty much after I put it on, because then it just, won't stop showing the little keypad until I do that. So then when I go to pay, I just press the button twice and tap and it's done. But with the Galaxy Watch, I'm at the register. And I go to they'll press the button and it wants me to type in the numbers on that tiny ass number pad. So I have to go do. Wait a second. Oh, and then the button for me to pay posts up, and then I hit pay and then I tap it. So they've made it worse than the card payments actually, because Google Pay doesn't even make you tap anything on the screen. You just click the hardware button and you're done. So good job, Samsung.
This sounds like it was a real trial for you.
It was the reddish the cashier was giving me strange looks as I was trying to put my arm against the
see,
register.
that's why I'm kind of like I don't really want to pay for things with a watch. Even Apple Watch users don't do that.
I think some of them do because
I've definitely seen it done.
You know, I'm sure some of them do, but like I rarely see them doing
because
that.
when
Like, I see people wearing Apple Watches, tapping their phones on things.
Yeah, well, I think it's some people probably don't set it up, but like half the time I do it, the person will ask like, "Is that an Apple Watch?" Because that's what they've seen people use it with. But yeah.
Okay.
So
let's now talk about a thing that's actually on our list to talk about, which is the Android 9 Pie beta for the OnePlus 3. I don't think we really have a lot to say about this. I think it's just kind of nice that OnePlus is still supporting this phone.
yes, I am. I'm always happy to shill for companies that update their phones for more than 8 months or a year.
Yeah, when did the OnePlus 3 come out? Was 20?
That was 20. I think it was 2015. Someone in the chat tell us because we don't do any research beforehand.
OnePlus 6, 2018, 6T, excuse me. 6 is 2017, and 5T is 2016.
The 3 was June 14th, 2016.
It was 2016.
Okay, so this
Still,
is only
that's 3
Okay.
years though. Still,
that's Google support level.
Yeah.
That's about as good as you can get.
You get 3 years of update support on a Pixel, so it's good for OnePlus. I'm pretty sure that LG has not updated anything to Pi yet, right? That's still the case.
Yeah.
Like a handful of their phones in
I think
Korea.
I think
about it.
The G7 One, like that Android One phone, got an update, but that's because it's Android One. But yeah, so LG's Update Center doing jack, but OnePlus surprisingly good at updating phones.
Did OnePlus absorb the Update Center? Did they borrow it?
Maybe they just stormed it and took over, and LG was too embarrassed to admit that.
OnePlus has commandeered the Update Center.
That is their sole headquarters now. Didn't you know?
They took the one cubicle space for their own.
Yeah. Okay, so all right, Corbin, to explain this Anchor thing. Why is the first in-car assistant device? Why does anybody want this? I don't understand it really.
Yeah, so at CES earlier this year, the first 2 in-car Google Assistant speakers were announced. There's one from JBL that I have no idea when it's coming out. Haven't heard anything about it since CES. And Anchor, they both announced these little devices. And there's a link in the chat in the episode description if you want to see pictures. But basically, they're little devices that plug into the cigarette lighter, and they kind of look like phone chargers. And they've got the little lights on them like a Home Mini and a Google Assistant button. Anchors is available starting this week from Best Buy and Walmart, and it costs $50. And basically, it's a Bluetooth to aux adapter, but with a dedicated microphone array. So it should be able to hear you better than your phone. And I haven't had this long, but that it does seem to hear me quite a bit better than my 6T. Still not amazing. Like if I have the windows down and I'm driving somewhat fast, it still has issues because there's a lot of wind, but still much better than my phone. And it's also always listening. So there's a lot of phones that can't always listen for the hot word, even when the screen's off. So that's another nice thing. And also Anchors doubles as a phone charger. There's 2 USB ports on it, which is another nice bonus.
Well, that's neat.
Yeah.
So does it need? So it connects to the phone over Bluetooth.
Yes.
And then can it also Bluetooth into your car if the car has Bluetooth?
I haven't tested that, but it does. It can do that.
It can do that. Okay. But it has an aux port, like if you don't have that.
Yeah. And that's actually what they recommend anyway, just to reduce latency and things that can go wrong. So that's what I'm using it with.
Okay. All right. And we'll have a review of this soon. So people can keep an eye out for that on the site. And Corbin will tell you whether or not you should spend $50 on it. Seems like kind of a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, it's okay so far. I won't give away too much because then no one will read the review.
Also, so I think you're technically not supposed to be talking about it, right?
No, I can. No, that's why this post went up. The embargo was yesterday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they said it right before the embargo.
Brian's like, Corbin, don't talk about the thing we posted.
I was a little worried
yesterday.
that you were saying too much and they were going to get mad at us. But yeah, you're right. They just were very late on the unit. Okay.
Anker's not going to get too angry at us.
That's good.
I feel like we need to end the podcast. I don't feel like
you're welcome, guys.
I don't feel like I can continue this right now.
Do you mind if I try this this little thing out then, and see if we can do this? The ad thing.
What are we doing?
Isn't it Twitch shilling time? As it says,
it is. Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. I mean, we don't hit them too hard the second time, but
Okay. Well, just saying, if you have an Amazon Prime account and you connect it to your Twitch, you can give us free money, and you don't have to pay for it. It's free, so you can subscribe for a month. Remember that you have to continually press that subscribe button every month to enact that subscription. Helps us out, gives us a little something to keep the show going. And if you just happen to be a fan who doesn't have an Amazon Prime account, we do appreciate your subs. So twitch.tv/Android Police.
Yes, we talk about the Amazon Prime a lot, but you can't actually just pay money to Twitch for the subscription. Like Diablo just subscribed for the 8th month in a row. I am concerned for his existence. This is his life. Okay. Qualcomm and Apple. They have sorted out their differences regarding modem tech, right?
Yes. So I believe, what was it? Apple was suing Qualcomm because they were being aggressive with their patents. I didn't read this. We don't do preparation. I'm sorry.
They were basically charging a whole lot and kind of. It was in kind of the same vein because there was a lot of litigation against Qualcomm, FTC, Korea's FTC for anti-competitive behaviors with its licenses and how. But
so as part of the settlement, Apple is paying Qualcomm an undisclosed sum, probably a lot of money.
UBS estimates $6 billion.
Yeah,
but that's UBS,
and they're getting a 6-year licensing agreement out of that. So it's. Apple devices will rely on Qualcomm chips. Like, that's going to happen. And that's probably going to make Apple's transition to 5G a lot easier. And as a result of this, Intel is just like, we're done with 5G modems. We're not going to bother. There's no point. We're out.
They gave up very quickly.
Yeah. I'm sure hours they were like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Well, it was strategically timed, though, because here's the thing. Because I was watching, I saw the freaking stock graph for Intel, and it was trending up for most of the day until the news, and then it went down, but still closed up from their last close. And then when they made the announcement, it just the stock shot up. So I think it's just something that needed to be done, and the guys are like, okay, we can get rid of this boogeyman off of our chests. So
yeah, I mean, I think Intel's 5G stuff was going to be not as good or ready as soon as Qualcomm's. So I think they were just doing this to hedge their bets. Like, if Apple and Qualcomm couldn't work this out, then they might be Apple's only option. But that is clearly not the case anymore. So they really don't have a customer.
Yeah.
They've been long out of the Android game, so I have nothing to say on that. It's just we could talk about Intel's troubling position in general.
Intel really dropped the ball. I think they dragged their feet on mobile chips for so long. They have purchased and sold multiple companies that could have given them an edge in developing mobile chipsets, and And then like the year that they really just decided like they weren't going to bother anymore was the year that the Snapdragon 810 was a complete disaster. And they might have actually been able to make some headway, but they were just already like, nope, we're done.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to make 5G modems. So
yeah,
I guess, you know,
I think it's interesting that Intel has always been for a while kind of seen as like the company that's never really going away. Like their long-term future is pretty set. But there's so many things in the past couple months that have really put a strain on their long-term viability. Like they still can't get their lithography down to whatever it's 12 millimeters, whatever they've been trying for years.
nanometers.
Yeah. And now they don't make modems, and now Qualcomm is starting to eat into their market share on laptops, very, very slowly, but they're getting there.
I mean, and frankly, their desktop chips are no longer unimpeachable. I think AMD is doing a much better job lately. Like the Ryzen parts are really, really, really impressive and cheaper than Intel's. And also Intel's response to the meltdown inspector thing was really just embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the 9th gen parts that Intel's currently selling still don't have a hardware fix for those vulnerabilities. It's still on software. I think the hardware fixes are supposed to be in the next generation, but that's not a good look.
Yeah. So, Intel got some problems. Who else has got some problems? T-Mobile and Sprint. But not if you ask John Ledger, he says everything's fine. So everything's probably fine, right?
Everything's fine. He got some more room service. He's good.
So, the other day, multiple reports claimed that the Justice Department has told T-Mobile and Sprint that they are not on board with the merger as it is currently structured. They're telling the carriers that it is unlikely it will be approved unless there are changes. We don't know how severe those changes would have to be. We don't know at what stage the negotiations are to get this through. We don't know if the FCC has any concerns. I feel like the FCC is going to be fine. If anybody holds this up, it's going to be the DOJ. But apparently, the antitrust department is not comfortable with the situation as it currently stands. John Ledger, that's T-Mobile's CEO, he said on Twitter shortly after this news came out that he thinks that this story from Wall Street Journal, specifically, there's also one in Reuters, he said, we don't believe this is true. So this is, I don't know. It's
you should never trust the rootin' tootin' rooters.
I corrected myself.
I just wanted to rooters. It's just so much fun, though.
But he didn't explain why it was wrong. He said that out of respect for the process, they're not going to comment further. I don't know. It could be that the sources were just sort of blowing out of proportion, some sort of memo sent to T-Mobile and Sprint. But I would sort of lean toward thinking that there might actually be concern in the DOJ about reducing the number of national carriers from 4 to 3.
I think the DOJ's lead investigator on this earlier on said that there is no quote unquote magic number in terms of how many carriers we want to be seeing in the national picture. Although, and many investors kind of took that, to say, hey, we like from this vantage point, we're okay with 3 carriers. But I mean, tacitly speaking, you're not. It doesn't really. It didn't really mean that much back then. There was also the concern about the wholesale aspect to the smaller carriers that rely on Sprint access, on T-Mobile access, because it's, their data rates are so cheap. What that would mean, and we've talked about T-Mobile promising to lock in rates for those people indefinitely, as well as consumers on, what was it, a 3-year span. So it's just, I think materially what has to happen, and I have not seen this talked about by John Ledger or whoever else at the companies, is giving up spectrum. They want, as far as I know, John Ledger wants all the spectrum that both of them have. And
yeah, I mean, who are they going to give spectrum up to? Like US Cellular or like some other like regional carrier? I mean, there are companies that have a lot of spectrum that aren't using it for mobile networks. They're obviously not going to give it to AT&T and Verizon. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. Huh?
Dish Network.
Yeah, Dish is one of those companies sitting on spectrum and not using it for a mobile network.
They're starting their first tower, but
yeah,
who knows?
They've been starting their first tower for like 3 years.
Well, this doesn't feel all that different than when Verizon was hoarding spectrum just a few years ago. So, it's every company wants to hold as much as they can, both because it keeps everyone else out of it and because it gives them more options and more coverage when they start using it. So, they're playing the same game. It's very carrier-like of them, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting part of Sprint is their 2500 megahertz spectrum, which is what Sprint is going to start 5G on. So that's sub-6 spectrum for 5G that will work with the current 5G modems. I think it's the only established band that's like that, because everything else right now is going to be millimeter wave. I think T-Mobile would really like to have all that spectrum to use on its network in the next couple of years, because it is. I mean, Sprint has a significant amount of it. I think that's the old Clearwire spectrum. I think that's what they got when they acquired that company.
I think so. Yeah.
If anybody remembers that from years back, that was like pre-WiMAX stuff.
Fun times, man. Gosh.
And thank you to Nathan Zero for subscribing on Twitch.
Hey.
Yay. All right, so that is the end of our list. Does anybody have anything else they would like to complain about?
How about that traffic?
So that's a no.
We all work from home, Jules.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's going to be the end of the podcast. We're not going to complain about traffic. So if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can let us know. podcast@androidpolice.com, and please go to twitch.tv/androidpolice and subscribe. It is free if you are an Amazon Prime member.
All right. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.